Listen to me inside you right now. There are two versions of yourself fighting for control. One is strong, driven, relentless, and unstoppable. The other is weak, doubtful, lazy, and full of excuses. And the truth is this: whichever version you feed will dominate your life. That weak version whispers to you when your alarm goes off, "Hit snooze, you deserve more rest." That weak version shows up when opportunity knocks, "Maybe later, I'm not ready yet." That weak version justifies failure with lies. "It wasn't meant to be." But the strong version, the real you, doesn't make excuses. The strong version doesn't negotiate with comfort, doesn't bow down to fear, doesn't wait for permission. The strong version takes control, moves with purpose, and refuses to let life dictate the outcome. You've got to make a decision today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Decide which version is going to run your life. Because if you keep letting that weak version live, it will destroy your dreams. It will rob you of your potential. It will bury your greatness before the world ever sees it. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you kill the weak version. Every time you show up when it's hard, you kill the weak version. Every time you silence the voice that says quit, you kill the weak version. And I'll tell you the truth, that weak version isn't going to die quietly. It's going to scream, it's going to fight back. It's going to pull every trick in the book to hold you down, but you are stronger, you are more powerful. You are capable of more than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. So stop negotiating with the old self. Stop giving that weak version oxygen. Starve it, suffocate it, bury it, and step fully into the strongest, most powerful, most disciplined version of yourself. Because once you kill the weak version, nothing, and I mean nothing, can stop you. The weak version of you is built on excuses, but the strong version is built on decisions. Think about how many times you've caught yourself saying things like, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I just don't have the energy right now," or "I'll try when I feel ready." Those words are not the language of strength. They are the whispers of weakness. They sound harmless, they sound reasonable, but they are nothing more than carefully disguised excuses meant to keep you comfortable, meant to keep you small. Excuses are easy, decisions are hard. Excuses give you permission to stay where you are. Decisions demand that you step into the unknown. Excuses trap you in the cycle of sameness. Decisions are the key that open the door to transformation. The weak version of yourself thrives every time you rationalize why you can't. The strong version grows every time you declare that you will, no matter what. The truth is, life doesn't change until you do. You can read all the books, listen to all the advice, watch all the motivational speeches in the world, but until you stop making excuses and start making decisions, nothing will ever move. That weak version inside you wants you to believe that circumstances control your life, that your environment, your upbringing, your resources, your lack of support are reasons to stay stuck. But the strong version inside you knows the truth. Your circumstances don't define you, your decisions do. The day you choose to stop blaming, stop waiting, and stop justifying, that's the day you start to rise. Decisions create momentum. Excuses kill it. A single decision can change everything. The decision to get up earlier, the decision to push through one more rep, the decision to apply for that opportunity, the decision to speak up, the decision to move forward when everything in you wants to hold back. Each decision, no matter how small, stacks up to build a stronger you. The weak version tells you that you'll never be consistent, that it's too late, that you've failed too many times. But the strong version knows that consistency is nothing more than a series of repeated decisions. Every day you get to choose. Every day you get to decide whether you'll keep feeding the weak self or keep growing the strong self. Excuses sound comforting because they take away responsibility. If it's not your fault, you don't have to do anything about it. If the timing isn't right, you don't have to act. If you convince yourself that success is for other people, you don't have to face the fear of trying and failing. That's why excuses are seductive. They give you temporary relief but permanent regret. Decisions, on the other hand, are uncomfortable in the moment. They demand effort, courage, and sacrifice, but they give you permanent power. When you decide to step forward in spite of fear, you grow. When you decide to take ownership, you become unstoppable. When you decide to act, you break the chains of hesitation. The weak version of yourself is fragile, it collapses under pressure, it waits for everything to be perfect. The strong version thrives under pressure because it knows pressure builds diamonds. The strong version doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It makes decisions and creates conditions. You weren't born to live as a prisoner of excuses. You weren't put here to spend your life waiting for the right time. You were born with the power to decide, to choose to take command of your life. That's what separates people who rise from people who stay stuck. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not opportunity. It's decisions. Every time you feel that urge to explain why you can't, stop yourself and ask, what decision can I make right now that aligns with who I want to become? Every excuse you eliminate is a brick removed from the wall holding you back. Every decision you make is a brick laid on the path that leads you forward. Weakness doesn't vanish overnight, but it gets weaker every time you choose strength. And strength doesn't come from wishing, it comes from deciding. Every moment you choose discipline over comfort, you bury the weaker self. Discipline is the sharp edge of transformation. It's the tool that carves away everything unnecessary, everything that holds you back. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it is the breeding ground of stagnation. Comfort whispers to you to take it easy, to rest a little longer, to put things off until later. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel in the moment. It demands that you show up regardless. It demands that you take the step, do the work, make the sacrifice. And every single time you choose discipline instead of comfort, you strike a blow against the part of you that wants to remain small. Comfort is deceptive because it feels like relief, but what it really gives you is decay. That soft couch, that extra hour of sleep, that skipped workout, that ignored responsibility, they pile up slowly until they suffocate your potential. Comfort is addictive, but the price you pay for that short-term ease is long-term weakness. Discipline is the opposite. Discipline feels like resistance in the moment, but it delivers growth, strength, and power on the other side. The weak version of yourself feeds on comfort. It gets stronger every time you give in to that voice that says, "Take it easy, you've done enough." But the strong version of you thrives on discipline, and every time you act with discipline, you are burying that weak self deeper and deeper. Discipline is not about massive one-time actions. It's about the small choices you repeat daily. When you wake up early even when you don't want to, that's discipline. When you push through that workout even though your body screams to stop, that's discipline. When you keep working on your vision after everyone else has gone home, that's discipline. When you refuse to let distractions steal your focus, that's discipline. Each of these moments might feel small, but together they create the unshakable foundation of strength. The weak self cannot survive in an environment where discipline is consistently chosen. It's like starving a beast. It weakens, it shrinks, it loses its power over you. The truth is, comfort is never neutral. Every time you choose it, you are making a trade. You are trading progress for ease, growth for stagnation, potential for safety. But discipline is also a trade. You give up temporary comfort for permanent strength, temporary struggle for lasting pride, temporary sacrifice for future freedom. Which trade you make determines the life you live, and in that choice, the weak self either wins or loses. Think about how many times you felt regret, not because of the things you did, but because of the things you didn't do. That is the cost of comfort. Regret is the shadow that comfort leaves behind. Discipline leaves behind something very different, confidence. Every disciplined act becomes a brick in the fortress of your confidence. You begin to trust yourself, to know that when you set a standard, you will meet it. That's the foundation of strength, the identity of the strong self. Discipline is also contagious. When you choose it in one area, it spills into others. You start with your health, then it flows into your work, then into your relationships, then into your mindset. It compounds, it multiplies, it builds momentum. And every time it grows, the weak self gets buried deeper. The weak self can't breathe in an atmosphere of discipline. It thrives only where comfort is chosen over and over. The more you starve it, the more it dies. The struggle is real because comfort will always be seductive. Your brain is wired to seek ease, to conserve energy, to avoid pain, but that instinct is primitive, it's survival-based. You're not here to survive, you're here to thrive. That requires discipline. That requires overriding the temptation to stop, to rest, to settle. The strong self knows that pain is temporary, but strength is permanent. The weak self clings to the temporary and never sees the permanent. Every time you stand at the crossroads between discipline and comfort, you are shaping who you become. You are either feeding the weak self or the strong one. You are either stepping into your power or handing it away, and in those repeated choices lies the story of your entire life. You cannot fake discipline, you cannot shortcut it. You have to live it daily, moment by moment, decision by decision, and each time you choose discipline, you are digging a grave for that weaker self until there is nothing left of it to rise again. The weak self wants safety, the strong self wants growth. Safety is seductive because it tells you to stay where it's familiar, where you won't be hurt, where you won't fail, where everything is predictable. It convinces you that staying inside your comfort zone is the smart move, that playing it safe protects you from pain. But what it really does is keep you trapped in the same patterns, the same routines, the same limited experiences. Safety might keep you from falling, but it also keeps you from flying. Growth demands risk. Growth demands discomfort. Growth demands that you step into places where you're uncertain, where you might stumble, where you might fail. The weak self can't handle that because its only priority is survival, but the strong self knows survival is not enough. It craves expansion, evolution, transformation. The weak self will always whisper, "Don't take that chance, you could get rejected." It will say, "Don't try, you might fail." It will say, "Stay here, at least you know what to expect." But every time you listen to that voice, you shrink. You don't stay the same. You actually get weaker. Because every time you choose safety over growth, you reinforce fear as the dominant force in your life. The strong self, however, speaks a different language. It says, yes, you might fail, but you'll learn. It says, yes, you might be uncomfortable, but you'll grow stronger. It says, yes, you might not be ready, but step forward anyway and figure it out along the way. Growth is messy, it's uncertain, it's full of mistakes, but it's the only path that leads to the life you're capable of living. Look at nature. Nothing in nature grows by staying comfortable. A seed has to break open to become a tree. A bird has to break its shell to fly. Muscles grow by being torn down and rebuilt. Growth is always violent to the old version of yourself. Safety is the refusal to let that process happen. The weak self clings to the shell, clings to the old identity, clings to what feels secure, but the strong self breaks free and endures the chaos because it knows that's the price of becoming more. Think about the moments in your life where you felt most alive, most proud, most expanded. Were those moments when you played it safe? Or were they the moments when you risked, when you put yourself out there, when you stretched beyond what you thought you were capable of? Safety never gives you pride, it only gives you comfort, and comfort fades quickly. Growth gives you confidence, growth builds character, growth makes you resilient. That's why the strong self hungers for it, even when it's painful, even when it's uncertain, even when fear screams in the background. Safety is about control. It's about clinging to what you already know and never letting go. The weak self is terrified of losing control, terrified of chaos, terrified of being vulnerable. But the strong self understands that control is an illusion. You can't control everything, but you can control your choices. And when you choose growth over safety, you are declaring that you value progress over comfort, that you value becoming more over staying the same. The weak self has 1,000 justifications. It says you'll wait until you're more prepared, wait until the timing is right, wait until you're certain of the outcome. But the truth is that timing will never come, that certainty will never arrive. Growth is always a leap, never a guarantee. The strong self accepts this truth and moves forward anyway. It doesn't need guarantees, it needs challenges. Because every challenge embraced is another layer of strength built, another layer of confidence earned. Safety breeds regret. Growth breeds possibility. Years from now, you won't remember the nights you stayed safe. You'll remember the moments you risked, the moments you stepped out, the moments you tested yourself and discovered you were capable of far more than you thought. The weak self wants to protect you from discomfort, but in doing so, it steals your future. The strong self is willing to endure discomfort because it knows that only through growth do you unlock your true potential. Every day you are faced with a choice: stay safe or grow, play small or expand, hide or step into the arena. That choice is not made once. It's made over and over in every situation, in every decision, in every challenge. And each time you choose growth, the weak self loses power. Each time you choose safety, the weak self tightens its grip. The direction of your life is nothing more than the sum of these daily choices. The weak self wants to survive, the strong self wants to thrive. Stop negotiating with weakness. Starve it until only strength remains. Weakness survives because you keep giving it attention, you keep bargaining with it, you keep allowing it to have a voice in your life. You tell yourself, just 5 more minutes of rest, just 1 more day of putting it off, just 1 more excuse for why it can wait. Every negotiation you make with weakness feeds it, strengthens it, allows it to grow and tighten its grip around you. Weakness is clever. It doesn't demand all at once, it takes little pieces. It convinces you to compromise, to take the easy path just today, to lower your standards just this once. But every time you compromise, weakness wins another battle, and before you know it, it owns you. Starving weakness means cutting off its oxygen supply. Weakness breathes through excuses, it breathes through comfort, it breathes through delay, it breathes through self-pity. The more you allow those patterns, the more you empower it. But when you choose not to give in, when you refuse to negotiate, weakness begins to wither. It doesn't die instantly, but each time you deny it, it loses a little strength. Every day that you don't listen to it, you are starving it. Every day you act in spite of it, you are suffocating it. The process is not easy because weakness will fight for survival. It will scream louder when it feels you pulling away. It will throw bigger excuses at you. It will use fear, doubt, and fatigue to try to trick you. But when you stop listening, when you stop negotiating, when you starve it, eventually it breaks. The strong version of yourself doesn't negotiate with weakness because it knows negotiation always leads to compromise, and compromise always leads to defeat. Strength demands that you take a stand, that you draw a line and refuse to cross it. Weakness will tempt you with what's easy, but strength keeps its eyes on what matters. Strength is forged when you tell yourself, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how tired, no matter how uncertain, I will not give in to that voice. That's how discipline is built. That's how resilience is formed. That's how character is shaped. You don't become strong by winning once. You become strong by winning over and over, by starving weakness until it has no place left in your life. Starvation requires consistency. You can't starve weakness for a day and then feed it tomorrow. You can't resist once and then indulge the next moment. Every time you give in, you give it fuel to survive. This is why so many people struggle. They resist for a while, they fight for a while, but eventually they compromise, and in that compromise weakness regains its strength. The strong self understands that weakness never takes a break, so neither can you. It's a daily battle, a daily choice, a daily war within yourself. And every moment you choose strength, every moment you choose not to negotiate, you tip the balance in your favor. Think about the moments when you gave in to weakness. How did you feel afterward? The guilt, the disappointment, the frustration. It's all proof that weakness doesn't serve you. Now think about the moments when you stood firm, when you didn't compromise, when you did what you said you would do. That pride, that confidence, that energy. It's proof that starving weakness and choosing strength gives you life. One drains you, the other empowers you. Which one do you want to keep feeding? Weakness is like a parasite. It feeds on your time, your energy, your potential, but only if you allow it. If you cut off its supply, it cannot survive. That's why you must stop negotiating, stop bargaining, stop giving it a seat at the table. Starve it with action, starve it with discipline, starve it with focus, starve it with persistence. Fill your life with habits and behaviors that strengthen you, and there will be no room left for weakness to survive. Strength is not about being fearless or perfect. It's about refusing to let weakness have the final say. It's about starving every excuse until there is no excuse left. It's about silencing the voice of comfort by consistently choosing action. It's about making a decision that weakness will not be part of your identity. When you live this way, the strong version of yourself doesn't just appear, it dominates. Killing the weak version unlocks the unstoppable version you were born to be. Inside you there is a self that is buried under hesitation, doubt, fear, and excuses. That weak version has been built over years of settling, years of holding back, years of letting fear dictate your choices. But beneath it, waiting to be unleashed, is the version of you that is relentless, the version that does not quit, the version that pushes past every obstacle with an unshakable will. The problem is, you can't live as both. As long as the weak version has power, the strong version remains chained. To unlock your unstoppable self, you must kill the weak one. That doesn't mean negotiating with it. That doesn't mean making peace with it. It means tearing it out of your life piece by piece until it no longer exists. The weak self wants you to believe it's protecting you. It tells you to stay comfortable, to avoid risk, to be cautious, to lower your standards. It pretends to be your ally, but really it is your prison guard. Every time you listen to it, you lock yourself inside the walls of limitation. The unstoppable self, however, thrives on risk, thrives on challenge, thrives on pushing past the boundaries of what seems possible. It only appears when you stop listening to the lies of the weak self and start acting in defiance of them. Killing the weak self is about recognizing those lies and refusing to let them control you any longer. Every excuse you make is a thread in the web that keeps you trapped. Every time you say, "I can't," every time you say later, every time you say it's too hard, you are giving the weak version oxygen. But when you kill those excuses, when you act instead of delay, when you do what you said you would do no matter how you feel, the web starts to break. Every time you break an excuse, you unlock a little more of your unstoppable self. That's how transformation happens, not in one dramatic moment, but in a series of daily executions of the weak self until there's nothing left of it to hold you back. The unstoppable version of you is not afraid of failure. It uses failure as fuel. It's not afraid of rejection. It sees rejection as redirection. It's not afraid of pain. It embraces pain as the price of greatness. But the weak version of you runs from all of those things, and as long as you let it live, it will convince you to run too. Killing that weak self means stepping directly into the situations that scare you, knowing that every time you do, you are suffocating the voice of fear and awakening the voice of power. The unstoppable version is already inside you, waiting to be accessed. It's the part of you that once dreamed big before fear taught you to settle. It's the part of you that keeps whispering that you're made for more, even when you try to silence it. It's the part of you that comes alive in those rare moments when you stop thinking and just act with courage. But for that part to become your dominant reality, the weak version must die. You can't feed them both and expect one to win. You have to make a choice every day about which version you will serve. Killing the weak self requires discipline. It requires saying no to comfort when it tempts you, saying no to excuses when they appear, saying no to fear when it tries to paralyze you. Each of those moments is a battle, and the war is won not with one massive victory, but with consistent daily victories. The more you win, the more unstoppable you become. The more you choose strength, the more weakness loses its grip. Over time, what was once difficult becomes natural, and what was once impossible becomes achievable. The weak version wants to drag you back to average, to mediocrity, to a life of good enough. But the unstoppable version wants greatness. It doesn't care about average, it doesn't care about fitting in, it doesn't care about being safe. It wants to break through barriers, it wants to live with fire, it wants to push so far beyond limits that the old you is unrecognizable. That is why the weak version must die. As long as it's alive, it will keep pulling you back. As long as you give it space, it will keep convincing you to settle. But when you cut it off completely, when you bury it with discipline, courage, and relentless action, the unstoppable version rises.